You know how to use them, huh?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm
Prawn.
prawn. Prawn jai par vachan na jai.
Or like we said, jhinga.
Ha jiga lala.
Before we get into the conversation, let's order some food. After all, it's a
I'm hungry.
lunchbox.
I didn't have breakfast.
Yeah, I think it's a good time.
Hello there. Hi, good afternoon. Kara furu. That sounds interesting.
So you want to try some jasmine tea?
We should take jasmine tea, definitely.
Yeah, so we'll have a pot of jasmine tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A pot of jasmine tea. I'm not good at ordering food. I think he loves Chinese food. So the main course, I think he will order. I'm quite sure.
We'll have a look and see. I think I know what Taufiq
What about you?
likes.
I'll have a spicy chicken bao.
Spicy chicken. Okay.
Yeah, that's good. I think we should
Bao,
try
bao,
that.
we'll all have bao.
We'll all have
I'll
the bao.
also have a bao.
Coco's dumplings are good, no?
Yeah, the dough.
Yeah.
Chicken dumpling.
Yeah, so I think Tokyo chicken gyoza is a good one.
Okay.
And I think the crispy prawn from Fun. Yeah.
And the dessert?
Something chocolate for me and non-chocolate for
No, I'm not a chocolatey guy. So I think you have something which is like a caramel. What is
The salted caramel creme brulee.
creme brulee?
I'll
I'll have that
for
salt.
you. I'll get the
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Lunchbox with Midday, a series where we take two eminent personalities from Mumbai out for lunch to talk about life, their journey through music, and food, of course. So we have today with us Ustad Taufiq Qureshi Ji, a man whose legacy is unparalleled. His search into global fusion and the rhythms of the world also led him to bring Indian rhythms into the djembe, giving it a new context. With him today also is Gino Banks, another legacy inheritor whose name is known throughout India for the use of drums. His passion for drums and its education is spreading, and another person who's searching through the genre of fusion to create new rhythms. So hello and welcome to both of you. Thank you for being with us.
Hello, Sriram. It's really nice to be here with Gino and with you and for this midday lunchbox.
Thank you, Shreya.
To start with, I'd like to ask about the journey that began. And I know your legacy with Ustad Allah Khan Saab, your father, it started. And what led you to the search for different rhythms, global rhythms as such?
Actually, from a very early age, since I was a kid, since I started understanding rhythm, that was the first time I heard an album by my father and the great Buddy Rich drummer. And I was attracted to the drum sound so much that I would wait for my sister, who's much older than me, to come from her college. And in those days, we had only LPs. And in one day, I would listen to that LP at least 4-5 times, just for the sound of the drums, because it was an amazing sound for me. It was different. No, I must have been 6 years old, 7 years old. So I was really, really, really enthralled by this sound, the drums. And on the cover page, if you've seen, it was called Rich Ala Rakha. Buddy Rich and Ala Rakha. So Rich Ala Rakha. And Buddy Rich is sitting down wearing a sherwani and with a pakhawaj.
Oh.
I didn't know that time. No? For me, that was
That
Drums.
that cover might be a collector's item, right?
yeah, it's there. So I mean, we still have the LP.
It's a classic.
So he was with the pakhawaj, and I would think that is drums, because somebody told me, one of my father's students, beta, this is ye drums hai, drum bolte. So maine bola acha. Then one day my father cleared that mystery. He said, "Ye beta, this is pakhawaj. Drum is, something which looks like round. What's a plastic hota hai, wo lakdi se bajate." So I guess from a very early age, I was attracted to what I call the other rhythm. Also, whenever Pancham Das song would come, Duniya mein, all that, I would go crazy. So for me, it was like I had this small pair of bongos. I would put them in between my legs and I would start playing as if I'm playing with the song. So I guess from a very early age of 6 or 7, I started taking the other route.
Taking the segue from Panchamda, because Panchamda has a very close connection with Mr. Louis Banks and your
Yes.
father. So talk to me about your fascination with drums, because from what I've heard and read about Mr. Louis Banks, it's a lot more the organ, the piano that comes into play. What led you to drums?
the family that I've come from, I was born into, say, concerts and recordings and live performance, and music like jazz and fusion, right? I was always in the middle of rehearsals, in the middle of recordings, in the middle of concerts. And growing up and being in the presence of Taufiq ji and so many great musicians, I was always attracted to the drums. Even though I was doing piano lessons when I was 6 years old, I was always gravitating towards the drums. And when I started to pick it up, my father didn't force me into music. He didn't force me to play piano or anything like that. But he created an environment at home. So there were keyboards, but there was a drum kit, there was a bass guitar, there was a trumpet. I kind of dabbled a little bit in everything, and I found the drums was the easiest for me to play out of all of them. Maybe because I liked it more. So I just took it up and I loved practicing. I don't know if that's common early on, but I just enjoyed, like, maybe because I saw people play at such a high level that, yeah, this is what you got to do to play at that level. So it was not like, oh, I have to practice. I was like, wow, I want to practice.
I'm glad you took the drums because we're fortunate that we have one of the topmost drummers here in India at such a young age, and who's really making a mark and spreading that love through the drums. So many of his students who are
I have to
doing so
ask,
well.
which kind of brings me to the nice question, interesting one, because I was curious about discovering that rhythm, and both of you have branched in search of that rhythm in different spaces. When did that strike you? When did that moment of, I don't know, epiphany come through?
See, when I was always attracted, like I said, and I would be doing riyaz also. In between, I would always, like, I still remember as a kid when my father told me, these drums, round, round, round,
Yeah.
looks like dabbas with plastic. So in our time, there used to be dalda ka dabba. 2, 3 I would keep like that, and then there's the broom with which you clean the bathroom, which has thicker sticks. I would break 2, 3 of them, and I would imagine I'm playing drums. So I was always there. But I guess when I came into college and I started realizing that that for me, in order to be able to reach people, I would have to have another route, because for me the music of the A to Z of the music, A for Allah Rakha, Z for Zakir Hussain, was over, right? And I was like, abhi main kya karu? I need something else. So when I came into college, I started realizing that, and whenever, we start at a very early age. Even when I was in college, I was playing programs with some contemporary young musicians, with my father, with Zakir Bhai, all that was happening. But as I progressed in college, I started realizing that, no, I think, and I was always attracted. I was in college, you meet so many people. Somebody's playing a conga, somebody's playing drums. I started understanding that there's not just one guitar. There are so many guitars. There's acoustics, 12 string, 6 string, bass guitar, electric guitar, so many different kind of guitars, which you don't know when you're in school, no? So I started understanding, and congas, I found them very attractive. And I would play them. I even bought a conga, from some money which I saved. So I was getting into their small recordings, dandiya, orchestra shows, everything. I was trying my hand at everything. So I realized that, I think I need to have another language. So I kind of was looking for that one instrument where I would be able to, all the knowledge which my father has given me, I need to broadcast it through another medium, and not the tabla. It had to be something else. So that journey, that search, ended with the djembe.
Did you sit on Ranjit's drums anytime?
Oh, many times. Many times.
Because you've known him for a long time.
So long. I mean, so many times. Ranjit Bhai would be, when Fazal and he would do duets, my other brother. And I would keep the tal. So many times I would see Ranjit's drums, and Ranjit Bhai he's like a brother. Taufiq, I would say, can I? So I would go and sit and try to figure out. And Ranjit would tell me, hey, see, this, you have to play the kick here and hi-hat. So Yes, I have tried my hand on his drums also.
But stick playing, because you learned hand
Aye,
technique first.
you
How
know-
the stick thing came?
No, because in my school days, no. So at our time, 26th January, 15th August, Gandhi Jayanti, and
The school band.
many such occasions, we would have to do march past. And the march past the practice would happen 10 days, 15 days before. And in the heat, August heat, and I would see three of them. One guy would play the bass dole and two would play the snare.
Yeah.
They are sitting in the shade here, and we are marching left, right. We are, what is this? And I said, yeah, I wish I was there. But they are already playing, they are fixed, they're kids who knew how to play. One day, one of the kids got transferred to some other school. I said, this is my opportunity. I went and I told, so our PT sir used to organize that. Sir, I want to. So he said, hey, you know how to play snare? Your father is a musician now. I'm sure you'll be able to play. You know how to play? I said, yes. Bindas. I was in my 7th standard or something. 7th. I said, yes, sir, I can play. Okay. So, but he realized, after a while, okay, I'll show you. You see, ta-da-da-da-da-da-da-dum, ta-da-da-da-da-da-da-dum, one, two times he showed me. I remembered it with simple rhythm. We are doing chakradars, these things. This was what? This is very simple. I started playing, and that's where the stick thing came. And I was so happy because I was sitting in the shade playing. My friends are marching, and the best thing is that after all march past is over, we are the people who get the cold drink. हम लोग बजा रहे हैं ना.
But that's common because I was also in my school band. From 5th standard onwards, because at the same time I started learning drums with Kawas Lord.
Kavaskaka.
Yeah.
Oh.
So like proper, holding the sticks, traditional grip on a pad. One rudiment on the pad per lesson it was. Mummy, daddy, right, left.
Oh.
45 minutes. Go home, come back, next day parrot it.
We were at school, and it's interesting. I'd like to take the conversation from school itself because my memories, one of my favorite memories of school is when periods are done and classes are done, we used to sit and bang on the desk. So, did you guys have that? I mean, not because you're percussionist, but was that a natural
No, I
inclination?
was banging on it even when the class was going on. That was, I would be always at the back. I'm a back row guy. So I would be, and we had those opening desk, So nice sound, like we were discussing. I would look for the nice bass and the mid and high part, and then I would be playing, and a couple of my friends would be there singing. मेरे सपनों की रानी कब आएगी, हम लोग बजा रहे हैं, गा रहे हैं, and softly, lectures going on, and obviously जिधर बजता था sound आया जोर से, my teacher would understand, has to be Qureshi. We were all many times called by our surnames, so Qureshi, out. Out. Good for me. I would go out, and then again I'm sitting on the bench outside. Hands are moving. What about
Always
you?
practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I did play on the desk a lot, and we used to. It was just, I think, natural to search for
Correct.
the low sound and the
Yeah,
high sound,
yeah.
so we could make a groove happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I was always fluctuating between the back bench and the front row. So sometimes when I was in the front, I couldn't do it.
I guess at your time they would rotate, no?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. That's
Whoever's
true.
at the back would come in the front.
That's true. There was a rotation.
Yeah, at our time, nothing like that. Whoever was sitting at the back, sitting at the back.
Coming to Mumbai again, because both of you have such a connect to Bombay, and I wanted to know what are the sounds that you most associate, because this city is a cacophony, and that rhythm keeps changing. For me, it's always the moving of the local train because I travel so much. And what's the sound that you kind of say that this is definitive Mumbai?
The drum set for me is a very contemporary city instrument. It's not a folk instrument. It was born in the United States by the whole amalgamation of all the cultures coming together, right? So it has it's very relatable to the city life, and the style of music being born in contemporary jazz music, and then coming through rock and everything like that. It is very urban. So when I think of drum kit, it's a very, like, Mumbai is an apt place to be a drummer. It just feels with the hustle and bustle and the grooves and the rhythms and the sounds of the drum kit is very contemporary and modern, like a city. as opposed to more traditional percussion instruments, which would be more suited to, a traditional uh, landscape. Yeah.
I was always attracted to sound. So I grew up in Mahim next to Magdum Shah Baba's Dargah. So I was born in that area, and till I was 11, we were there only. Every Friday, there would be the call for the prayers, and before that, they would play this Nagada. Bum, 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 bum. So if I was home, even if I'm having lunch, the afternoon prayers, I would leave my lunch and run because masjid was 3 minutes away. I would run and I would stand while this man is playing that Nagada. And because of Magdum Shah Baba, that Urus time, no, there would be all these processions coming. Sandal, they were called, Sandal. And those sandals would bring in various different musicians playing tota, shehnai, dhols, and different. There was to be one African, those Africans from Gujarat.
Those
who's
long
to-
drums.
A lot of them are settled in the Muhammad Ali Road area. They would also come with those the African drums and all, and we would be on the road and looking at all of them passing. Da, 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 da. These sounds are going on. So I guess I was always attracted to ye kya chal raha hai, ye kya chal raha hai, ye. So Mumbai is full of it. Mumbai is a universal city like London or New York. You would find everything.
Did that
here.
in
You'll
a
find
way
everything
trigger
here.
your curiosity about the different sounds and
It did. It did, at least to me. And I would always walk with the procession because some dhol guys are playing. I would walk with them, listening to them, seeing kya baja raha hai. And in my mind thinking, I wish I could play that. So Mumbai, I would find, my father, whenever he was employed at the radio station in Mumbai in the late 40s, early 50s. So from Mahim, he would go by the local train, to Churchgate, where the radio station is. And throughout the journey, the train rhythm would be a good accompaniment to his recitation. He would keep reciting his compositions to that. So he would keep saying his chakradars and all, while his students would be around him. So rhythm for us is everywhere. For me, rhythm is everywhere. You can find rhythm. See, that's why I made this band called Mumbai Stamp, because I was inspired by the stomp. But for me, rhythm is even in kachara ka dabbas, bottles, everywhere. So, it's here also.
Yeah.
I could create rhythm. We both could create rhythm through all these things.
I have to ask that question to both of you. What does the term fusion mean? Because it's used so often that the meaning is sometimes lost.
Yeah.
So I'll start with
Taken
you.
advantage of sometimes, and it gets a bad reputation and it becomes confusion. But then, ironically, to do fusion really well, the people involved have to come from a very pure form of music background, but a very open mind and an understanding and openness towards another style of music. And fusion is super important to me. I feel even though I play a lot of styles in its pure form, my love in music is fusion music, and that's my comfort zone. And it's because at the time I was born, at the time I grew up listening and watching, especially in Mumbai, live music through dad's bands and stuff like that, was watching Taufiq Bhai, Ranjit Baro, Sivamani play with dad, and it was mostly fusion music. And I was lucky I saw these musicians play because this was the right fusion. And fusion is just basically taking an influence from a lot of different styles of music and putting it together. And the best kind of fusion, I think, is where you can't see the difference between East and West.
Correct.
It's melded together, as one. You should not be able to say, oh, this is Western and this is Eastern. It's one music.
Correct.
Yeah.
See, the definition of fusion, if you see in the Oxford Dictionary, says to melt and to blend, which you rightly said. So what happens is, for musicians, we need to melt everything. We need to melt our music, we need to melt our egos, we need to melt our personalities and become one with the other musician, and vice versa. The other person also has to do that. So, like you said, we need to be well versed in one form of music, but we should understand the other form of music also in a proper way, if not in a perfect way, but we should know about what is jazz music. Like for me, if I'm working, if I've worked a lot with Luigi, very fortunate, I learned a lot with him while traveling with him, apart from food, of course. But the best thing was that Luigi is a jazz musician, but he knows about rags, he knows about tals. That's a very, very unique thing, because then he was able to fuse with people like Hari Ji and so many others, being able to work with Panchamda and with so many music directors, with Zakir Bhai and so many. He's worked a lot, right? So his whole concept of jazz, he's the pioneer of jazz, but he's also the pioneer of fusion music in India, I would say, because he really brought about the concept of East and West with Sangam Band, with Ramamani being there, Ranjit Bharat, of course, Carl Peters. And then, of course, he went on to do with other musicians also. We were fortunate to work with him. So you have to melt your ego. I have seen Luigi, I've seen Zakir Bhai. They are going with the attitude of, I'm not Ustad Zakir Hussain. I'm a musician and he is another musician. We need to collaborate. We need to fuse. And so we need to melt our music, our ego, our everything. That's why Shakti, I think, was one of the best, because John McLaughlin is wearing a lungi and sitting. Now that's amazing. But he came to this side, learned Carnatic music and went. Zakir Bhai spent so much of time in the US learning about Afro rhythms, Latin rhythms, jazz music. L. Shankar, of course, was a master of the violin, but he also knew the other kind of music. Vikuji, being a pure ghatam player, also had his ears and mind open to all kind of music, and that's why they could come up with that kind of music. So I guess for me, Shakti is one of the best forms of fusion music, and of course, Luigi's band Sangam.
Talking about food, I know you are a foodie and you love it. So, what is the routine when you are out on concerts, and what do you look for? What's the program that way?
Food is like, most musicians really enjoy good food, and a lot of talk happens is, once we're done with the concert, where are we going to eat, or what are we going to
Even
eat?
before the concert, sometimes that is the topic.
That is so.
The topic is not what we
Yeah.
will play, but what we will eat today. Where will we go?
And I also, growing up at home, when dad used to have rehearsals, Taufiq Bhai can attest to this.
Yes, of course.
There were rehearsals planned in the morning, so that lunch could have happened
Yeah,
after
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Only evening dinner could happen after.
And at Luigi's, you would get some amazing food cooked by Lorraine. Amazing food, amazing.
So, what were the foods that you grew up with? What were the dishes that were comfort food for you?
I mean, at home it was the usual, dal chawal was a staple, and there was always, because you're a non-vegetarian household, there was always like fish or chicken or something like that. But my go-to cuisine is like Chinese food, Pan-Asian food. That's my favorite, no matter which country I'm in. My wife Eden and I mean, that's one of the big things about us is, wherever we go for a holiday, we find the Chinese restaurant in that country.
Well, at home, of course, my mom was the cook. My sisters would also cook. And there would be chicken, keema. Mutton keema was one of my favorite. And vegetables were also there. Of course, my mother was very strict that meat, yes, but you should eat bhindi, gawar, aloo, fulwar, wo to hota hi tha. So with the meat, she would add the vegetables. So it would be bhindi gosht, Karela gosht. So gosht was there, but my mother was awesome in Karela gosht. Now Karela is a very kadwa vegetable, but the way she would cook it, that whole kadwahat would go. So her Karela gosht is famous because I've known many like Ustad Ali Akbar Khan Saab, Amjad Ali Khan Saab, Pandit Kishan Maharaj Ji, all coming to eat Karela gosht of my mom. So yeah, so we had all that, and yes, my father would sometimes, when he was home, Abbaji, he would tell my mother, "Acha, sab, keep everything ready. Now you all ladies go out of the kitchen," and he would make mutton with lungi and one ganji, and he would not make it on the gas. There was a stove kept specially for that, so he would make it on the stove. You sit down, and he would make it on the stove, and that mutton is like out of this world. I will never forget it. Even my mom would say, "Main nahi bana sakti aisa."
Speaking of vegetables, I think We are starting with some vegetables.
You know how to use them, huh?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm. You too. Okay.
I think it was like the drummer in me was like, I need to be good at using chopsticks.
Correct. Correct. I'm a percussionist, hand percussionist, so I'm usually using my hand. Wow. Nice.
It says wasabi mayo. You got avocado too.
Talking about your albums, I am a big fan of two, Raidun and Bombay Fever.
Okay.
And I was fascinated by the sounds in them. And I had to start with asking, what was that moment when Raidun clicked and it happened?
So Ridhun was, it's, RHY is short form for rhythm. And Dhun is melody. There was a time I was completely involved in recordings, film recordings, from 85 to, you can say, 95, 97 actually. So I would go, he knows, Luigi has been also a part of it. Would go in the morning, reach the studio 9:30, so sometimes work till 12, 2. In those days I was doing a lot because I was doing recordings, and then in the night we would go and play Jhankar beats. That's a different kind of, वो फिल्म का गाने पे किक स्नेयर ऐड करने का. So it was a very busy time for me. So I was involved, recordings, dandiya and all these things. So 10 years. One day I got a concert with Zakir Bhai. It was at Masters of Percussion, but in India it was called Zakir Hussein's Rhythm Experience. And I was out of practice, of course, because I was constantly in the studios. So I played very badly. I was not good at all.
I don't believe that at all.
Huh?
I don't believe that.
No, I was very bad. I'm telling you. And my wife Gitika, we were married then 1 year only, and she said, "What is this? Your hands are not moving the way they should. They're not playing properly. Stick work is not happening. What are you doing?" I said, "Yeah, I don't get time. So you should get out of the studio thing." I said, "If I stop all that, money will stop coming in." He said, "Doesn't matter, but you get practice. You need to, because you belong to a family of live musicians." So she pushed me and she got me out of there. And I said, "Okay, fine." So I stopped a lot of the recordings and I started practicing. I've started feeling, because I stopped work, money is reducing. And then one guy came to me. His name is Rajiv Sharma. He said he's launching a label, Milestone. So he said, I had done an album early 90s called Colors of Rajasthan. So he heard that. He said, "This is amazing music. I want to work with this guy." So he kind of got in touch with me. He said, "I loved Colors of Rajasthan. Will you do an album for us?" I said, "Yeah, okay." And I have this much money. I was like, that's a lot of money in those days. 7 lakh. I said, "Wow, good. I'll do it, yeah, of course." So I did that album. I got Zakir Bhai, Shankar. Shankar and me have been friends for eons now. Shankar was part of it. My father came. So that's how Ridhun came, because Ridhun is an album which is like a culmination of all the learnings which I've done. From my father, playing in orchestras, playing dandiya, playing film recordings, everything culminated into Ridhun. And it came out there. And when Ridhun came, suddenly, it was a first of its kind, in the sense in 2002 release a non-film album, no singing, no lyrical singing, no thematic, neither it's a ghazal or a bhajan or anything. It's a non-specific that way album, a fusion kind of album. People just loved it, and because it had such great musicians also, blessings from all of them. So Ridhun was my launching pad. Suddenly, I was in the thick of it, in the media, everywhere. And this Rajiv Sharma did a lot, because he got a lot of media. He did a big launch.
I was there
in
for
those
the
days.
launch.
You were a young boy. Mayfair Room. You were a young boy. Luigi had come to bless me. And so that happened, and that became like Taufiq Qureshi got to be known in some circles. And suddenly I was having corporate shows, college shows, these shows, and that was a launching pad for me. So I am saying Ridhun is a blessing for me. It's a big blessing. And Bombay Fever, of course, because I had worked with music with them on Colors of Rajasthan, they came to me and they said, "We'd like to work with you once again." Suddenly I was known, na, malum pad gaya. That's how Bombay Fever came. Now, Bombay Fever again is everything connected to Mumbai. So it's the eunuchs in Mumbai, they are part of it. There are themes in there which is like the Bombay underworld, which is a very important part. The Mumbai rain, that time we had a very bad in 2000, whatever the year, where Mumbai was flooded. And then other elements of Mumbai, Bollywood is also part of it. So that's how Bombay Fever came into being.
With Gino, it's logically speaking that I wanted to touch upon.
Oh wow, okay.
Because that's a lovely album that brings multiple elements into play and the performances and stuff. So could you elaborate on what the idea went into it?
It's my only album out under my name, but that it came in by chance. I was recording for a lot of people, playing on a lot of people's songs and albums. I used to do a lot of workshops. That time, the masterclass workshop scene was just picking up, through Furtados and a lot of brands that I was, drum brands that I was playing with. I didn't want to play cover songs at those workshops. Apart from doing the educational part, I wanted to play my own music, So remember I got a MacBook Pro, got Logic Audio for the first time. And instead of programming rhythm, because I had learned piano early on, I had a basic melodic knowledge of chords and scales. I started programming melodies so that I could play drums to that. So I used to create these pieces of music so I could perform these at my workshops and it could be my original music. So I had written about 8 of them. And then I was like, might as well, I should put this out. Now they're not conventional songs. They're songs to highlight the drums as the lead instrument. Almost like melody accompanying rhythm, right? That's how that album came about. Taufiq was there when I did a solo show once at the Quarter. And I played music from that album.
Yeah.
Thank you. Prawn.
Prawn jai padvachan bhaja.
Or like we said, Jhinga.
Jiga lala.
I have to ask about food. Food is one thing that's constantly cropping up in the conversation. So, are you guys street foodies? Did you do that?
Yeah. We still do.
Yeah. My favorite is the chaat.
Yeah.
Sev puri, bhel puri.
Is there any food from other than Mumbai that you absolutely love and adore?
The beauty about what we do is we get to travel a lot, right? And sometimes we don't visit just the metros, we visit small towns around India. So that's when we really have some local food and it's amazing. It's quite incredible actually to experience that taste,
Yeah.
So there's nothing in particular as a favorite, but it's always enjoyable.
I love going to various places to try the street food, like the Khan Market, Sarafa in Indore. Oh, I love that place. Street food, charts, different. Yes. And Kolkata, to go and have, some lovely sweets on the streets, rasgullas. And you get some of the best rasgulla and mishti dough in some street shops only, rather than those big guys. So yes, I mean, I love street food. I'm growing up in Mumbai, which I said is a universal city. You get to experience everything on the street only here.
Before we finish, I wanted to run by a few rapid fire questions and would love to do that. Talk to me about your favorite album, that one that you absolutely listen to.
Wow, that's like hard, really hard. My God. I'll give you an answer now, but it might change tomorrow. But one very inspiring album for me is an album by John McLaughlin called The Heart of Things. It features Dennis Chambers on drums. Those compositions and the playing in that is, I mean, it's from 1995, but it's still like, it ignites a fire in me, for inspiration.
Shakti's first album, Natural Elements. I love that album. Some amazing pieces in that album. I mean, that's what triggered some things in the head that, oh, how is this happening?
Yeah. Well, that's common thread. John McLaughlin is the common thread on both those albums.
Correct.
A vocalist that you always love to listen to?
Lata Mangeshkar.
I'm going to go off the beaten path a little bit. There's a singer called Steve Hogarth from a band called Marillion. There's something about the way he sings and his phrasing. It's so fluid. You wouldn't think it's rhythmic, but the way he comes in with the words and phrasing, it's super hip. So, and his tone of voice. So I'm a fan of his voice. Yeah.
An instrument you wish you played?
Better piano.
The tabla.
You play tabla.
I do, but the actual instrument. I wish. I mean, I can play, and I was playing at one time good only, I think, but all that is now happening on the djembe. But sometimes I wish I can. Whenever I see Zakir Bhai,
Last I saw you, I think you were playing tabla with Dad, George Brooks, and Ranjit and all at the Jazz Yatra show at Ram Bhavan.
Baapre, that was like ages ago.
A movie that you'll never forget that you watched?
That's also a hard one. There's lots. No, to name one, it's like not fair. Since a kid, and I still watch it, and I still feel some sort of feeling is Jaws.
Oh,
It's quite an impactful movie for me.
Yeah.
The way that they don't show, the shark for so long, and they just build it on this
yeah, with that
fear.
bum bum
Yeah.
bum 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 bum
That
bum.
theme had a lot to do with it also.
Yeah.
You come back to rhythms again.
There we
Yeah,
go.
it's melodic, but it's got a rhythmic movement. For me, it's Ben-Hur. I still remember seeing that film in Mumbai, in Minerva Theatre, CinemaScope, and I will never forget it. Long but amazing movie, especially the chariot race. In those days, how they shot it. I mean, it's amazing. Never forget.
A city that you love other than Mumbai that you travel to and absolutely love?
New York.
For me, London. I love London because traveling in London is so much more easier. It's all given, written. Everything is very clear there.
What would you say is rhythm?
Life.
Same here. Rhythm is life because your heartbeat is in rhythm, your pulse is in rhythm, your breath is in rhythm. So, rhythm is everything. That's why, how the doctors in those days would see if you're okay or no. By the pulse, no? They would touch you, and by the pulse, they would know if a woman is pregnant. But that's because of the heartbeat, because the pulse. Because the pulse has an additional pulse of the baby. Yeah. So they know you're pregnant. So I'm saying rhythm is just life.
The djembe, bringing the Indian rhythm to the djembe, what led to the idea and what made the djembe?
I was always searching for all that knowledge which is inside my head. The tabla knowledge which I've received from my father it was all here, but it was not coming out. So actually I was feeling suffocated in that sense. All this is there inside me, but I cannot go on doing Bollywood rhythms only or play dandiya only. No, ये सब निकलना है कहीं से तो. So it was always there. So I tried it on the drums, but too many instruments. Like Ranjit always says, where to play dha?
Yeah.
You have to first think where to play dhin. So many instruments. Then congas came to me, but too dead, no resonance. Darbuka also came, but too small and also too sharp. So what you need is like what the tabla has, the drums have. It has all the three frequencies which are important to play rhythm. It's got the bass, it's got the mids, it's got the highs. Djembe is that instrument. It's got the bass, in middle is the mids, and edge is the highs. So it's got all the three frequencies. When you get these three frequencies, what he said we used to look for on our desk. If you find those three frequencies, you are able to define many, many compositions of drums, of the mirdangam, the tabla, anything, So that's why.
Before we leave, we would like you to take the desk and perform.
Yeah, I think we can be polite enough.
Thank you so much for joining us for lunch, sir.
Are, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.